Hi there, this is Jayashree here again. In the next two videos, you're going to learn more about data types, variables, and arithmetic operators. To understand the data types, let us consider a hypothetical farmland having different types of fruit bearing plants and trees, and you are asked to do some initial analytics. And some of the initial questions that you might have are: how many plants and trees are grown in this farmland? What types of fruits are grown here? What is the selling price of each of these fruits? And are there any blueberries or blackberries? Because they are my favorite. So, the answer to the first question would be a whole number, which is represented as an integer in most of the programming languages, including Python. Now, the answer to the next question, which is what type of fruits are grown here, the answer could be something like apple, pear, etc., which are all text and not numbers. So these are all textual inputs and not numbers. So such data, which are of textual type, are represented with a string type. Also, you might have noticed that the textual data is in between single quotes. However, note that you can either put single quotes, double quotes, or triple quotes for representing text. However, note that triple quotes are used when your text is extremely large and spans multiple lines. So next comes the selling price of the fruits. Let's say that the selling price of the fruit is 35 cents, and when you represent that as a dollar, it becomes a decimal because it is $0.35. So to represent all decimal data, we use float type. So for the next question, which is, are there any blueberries or blackberries in this form? The answer could be something like yes or no. There are only two options, either yes or no, and there is no in between, or there is no other option that you have for these kind of questions. When the options are only two, where it's either yes or a no, true or a false, 0 or 1, you could use a data type which is called Boolean, with the values being true or false. So no would represent false and yes would represent true. A Boolean can only have a true or a false value. So let's do a recap. The four most commonly used data types in Python are integers to represent whole numbers, float to represent real numbers, string to represent textual data, and finally Booleans to represent true or false or binary data. Python also supports complex type to represent complex numbers. However, that's not as common as the other four types. Even though you learned all the data types, you never really get to declare them in your program because Python is a dynamically typed language. What it means is you simply declare your variables, assign the values, and the rest is taken care of for us by Python. Notice all the variable names that we have given so far: total, price, fruit, etc. We really did not give much thought to label them. However, there are some rules to follow for the variable names. And those rules are: a variable must start with a letter or underscore. It must contain only letters, digits, or underscores. Must not use any of the reserved keywords that is used by Python. So what are those reserved keywords? Here they are. Ensure that you don't name any of your variables with these keywords. Even though you can give whatever name that you want for your variables, as long as you follow the rules for naming the variables, good programmers give meaningful name for their variables. For example, if you name a variable as A to keep the value of the total number of trees, you may remember it now, but will you remember after 3 months? And what about your friend who is trying to read your code to understand what you're trying to do? Will he understand what exactly is A here? Hence, it's very important that you keep meaningful names so that it's easy for anyone to understand your code. If you use more than two words to represent a variable, you can use underscore or camel case to attach the words. Well, it's important to note that variables are case sensitive. So what it means is total with a small t is not equal to total with the uppercase T. Well, that is all for this lesson. And in the next video, we will try some example hands-on.